This week on the Markcast, it's Heinicke Mania. Reed's got his Heinicke jersey on. He's also talking to some great guests. Reed, who do you talk to this week?
We have CFL Hall of Famer Milt Stegall coming on. He yells at me about my BC Lions jersey. It's a whole lot of fun.
Thank you for having me on, but I do have one problem right away. Why don't you have on a Milt Stegall jersey? I'm a little disappointed. I understand who you cheer for. I understand all of that, but if you're going to have me on, you need to have on a Milt Stegall jersey.
Then we have friend of the show, friend of Mike Hogan, friend of Jim Mullen, and Krown Gridiron Nation, Mike Hogan of the Argonauts. He is coming on.
I don't want to call him my friend. He might take that, to mean that I actually like him.
And then the voice of America's CFL team, Guilio Caravatta. We have the voice of America's CFL team, the BC Lions. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you very much for having me.
We're talking BC Lions. We're talking Amar, Doman. We're talking all that kind of stuff. Paul, what else are we going through?
We got a giveaway because guess what? We hit 1,500 subscribers. So there's going to be 3 chances for you to enter. You can do all 3. It's a great idea that Reed came up with. You have a choice of a Markcast sweatshirt that's in a medium, a choice of one of the Jousters t-shirts that Brian Woods broke the bank to send us. They're an XL, or one of the Argonauts jerseys, small or medium. Your choice. What you got to do, listen to the show and we'll tell you how to win one of those gifts. It's great.
It's a really good show. A lot of good guests. We got CFL stuff. We're previewing week 7. Trevor Harris is out. We've got new quarterbacks coming on. It's a whole Taylor Cornelius season. What is happening here?
Taylor Heinicke season as well. It's all happening this week on the Markcast. Welcome to the Markcast. Year.
Very, very exciting late night tonight. I've had a couple beers, not too many beers. I think we should be okay. I am wearing my Taylor Heinicke. It is Taylor Heinicke season. Taylor Heinicke and the Washington football team just knocked off Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. Very, very excited. Paul, what did you think of everything? Exciting night tonight.
It was once I saw that they gave Taylor Heinicke 2 minutes left, I was like, oh God. I think they gave him too much time. And all Taylor Heinicke really has to say at this point is,
I'm for real. So you better check yourself.
That's it. That's all he has to say.
That's all you have to say. Yes, I have my Heinicke jersey. Tim and Cliffy, I listened to your podcast. Paul, we have a wager coming up. I was going to wear my Alouettes flight deck shirt tonight. I was going to put on the BC Lions jersey, all that stuff. But instead, it is Taylor Heinicke season. I think we'll do a little more XFL talk later, but I do have to get that out of the way at the top. Tremendously excited for him. And my team, the Washington football team, played horrendously tonight, but still managed to get the win.
Well, it's the Giants, dude. I mean, it's the Giants. They're like the football equivalent of the Mets. Well, the Jets would be that too. Why are all New York sports right now kind of blowing?
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, Yankees. You lost to the garbage Orioles tonight. Just saying.
Anyway, so we'll do the Heinicke talk later. We actually have some XFL news, so we'll talk about that. But tonight we are celebrating America's CFL team, the BC Lions.
The America's CFL team.
I have a custom thumbnail made from Gary that's made all of our characters and everything. Gary has made us a custom thumbnail for the video talking about America's CFL team. So I'm very excited to talk BC Lions tonight.
It's not America's CFL team. Moving on. Got a lot of guests, it looks like here.
So I will tell you this, for CFL fans, Milt Stegall, legend of the game, right? 14 years. When I posted earlier this week that we had Milt Steven, Mike Hogan, and then Guilio Caravatta, the most likes, retweets, thumbs up that we've gotten. Milt Stegall, they called him Turtle Man. Paul, do you know why they called him Turtle Man?
No, why did they call him Turtle Man?
Because apparently he was so ripped back in his day, his abs looked like a turtle shell.
Oh, I thought maybe because his head went into his shoulders.
That's what I thought. But no, they said because he was Milt is on. He's great. He's getting ready, flying out to TSN to do the shows this weekend. Milt's great. Mike Hogan with the Argos. We talk a lot about the Argos. We talk a little bit about Chris Jones. Mike didn't want to talk too much about Chris Jones, but we talk about that. He's a friend of the Jim Mullen with the Krown Gridiron Nation. I forgot to tweet that when I tweeted that, and Jim got mad at me. And then we have Giulio Caravatta. He is the color with the U analyst for America's CFL team, the BC Lions.
America's CFL team.
He also was a quarterback. Giulio is great. Like I will tell you, make fun of me, not BC Lions stuff. I'm just doing that facetiously, but great interviews all around. Tremendous guests across the board.
Very cool. We hit 1,500 subs on YouTube, so thank you for that. We appreciate you and all that you've done to get us to that mark. I think we have some giveaways to do in that situation, so we'll figure that out and talk to you about that later on.
Yeah, I had an idea. Maybe we can announce that later in the show, how we're going to do that, similar to before, but, get people to listen around. But yeah, 1,500 subs. We're like 1,504 now. Really appreciate everybody and all the interest. But I do think us getting Milt and everybody this week really kind of put that, because we added like 15 subs once we announced Milt. So
very cool stuff. And then there's a bet.
Yeah, we have a couple things. So first off, so you have your wonderful Argos stuff that we're giving away, right? Josh McGee, that's part of the giveaway. We have some Spring League stuff from Brian Woods, a friend of the show. Sounds like we are getting in with the BC Lions for reals, and there's going to be some merch coming our way. So I've gotten a little note from friends of the team, not Jim Mullen, and like actual people in the BC Lions. And it sounds like we're going to have some other giveaway stuff. And then I have wagered with Tim. Tim was on our show 2 weeks ago, Tim Capper with the Alouettes Flight Deck podcast, and Cliffy over there, that we're so confident. I'm so confident that the BC Lions are going to beat the Alouettes that if they lose, I'm going to change the Markcast Twitter avatar to a horrendous Montreal Alouettes logo for a week. But when the BC Lions win, they're going to because it's going to be the Alouette Flight Decks, but they're going to have a BC Lions logo. I thought that was funny.
That's very fair. That doesn't involve me changing my avatar or anything like that. So I like that you kept me kind of neutral from any kind of wager, because, you like to claim the BC Lions are our team, and they're not our team. They're your team. But that'll be interesting to see who comes out ahead on that.
I'll tell you, 1,500 views for my little wager on a Wednesday afternoon. I can't tell you that many people were talking about the BC Lions at noon on a Wednesday, except for that wager. So I'm trying to do my stuff. Rod tweeted about when I posted my video. He goes, "Are you not an Elks fan anymore?" And I tweeted back, I said, "Child." Rod has missed the boat. I go, "Not anymore, Rod. Sorry."
After they talked so much trash about the XFL. Good riddance.
Yeah. So,
good riddance.
But anyway, fun stuff. BC Lions are going to win. Yeah. We have this review here. It's the tiniest print. I tried to put it on there. I don't know if we can read that at all.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun listening to Americans cover the Canadian Football League, because longtime fans, it's in the Star Wars font now. It's barely. It seems that Paul and Reed learn something new about this storied league every week, and it's great to go along with them on that journey. I agree.
So yeah,
cool.
Great review. I appreciate it. There was also a comment about us doing more shows before the Thursday night games, and I go, we did that. Maybe it was a fever dream to everybody when we screamed at each other on our live shows, but those happen. So I don't want to hear any complaints about no more, or we want more live shows before the Thursday. We tried that. We might do it again.
We might do it again now that, Reed figured out what was going on. I'm not trying to bring it up. Okay. I'm not trying to bring up old stuff, but the problem was with him. And we might do it again. You never know. You never know.
Anyway, so thank you for that. That was Jerry. I believe Jerry left that review. Maybe XFL or themarkcast.com/review if you want to leave a review. Also, please subscribe. I think we'll do another giveaway at 2,000. And like I said, that will probably involve some BC Lions merch and some other fun stuff that we have accrued along the way.
Very cool. Last week's games, of course, Argos taking out the Tiger Cats 17-16. Yes, that's good news for me. Blue Bombers continue to be hot. They take out the Roughriders 33-9. Reed's Lions 45-13 over the Red Blacks, and the Stampeders, Stamps, take out the Elks 32-16.
Yeah, this Lions Redblacks game, late night Saturday night game. I watched this. I told Julie about it on our interview. I go, it is as close. Like when I get taken from this earth and I go to whatever higher place we're going to, I hope that it is as glorious as watching that game and watching Michael Riley throw. I mean, it was like a tremendous game. Like the BC Lions couldn't be stopped. Half the points were scored in garbage time at the end with the Redblacks. Like, I mean, it was truly like God on earth, and it was phenomenal.
There's something that happened that night that was a little bit more phenomenal, and you mentioned it a little bit above there. And we I was in New York City this last weekend. I actually got to see my New York Yankees take on the poverty little brother Mets in their great field. They're too bad of a team to deserve such a field like that. It's kind of got the Ebbets Field like throwback look to it. It's a beautiful park. Got to see the 9/11 ceremonies and stuff like that. Really moving stuff. And if I hadn't been there, I'd probably been watching that game along with Reed. So it was great. It was a great weekend for both baseball fans and CFL fans.
Yeah, it was good. So this week, the big doubleheader, right? So Stampeders are going. Dane Evans is out, so it's David Watford now. He's their third string quarterback. That is a little scary. The Argonauts are playing. They've had some coaching personnel issues we're going to talk about in the show against the Roughriders. They're reeling. Cody Fajardo, we don't know. It sounds like he's not going to be in concussion protocol anymore. Lions, we've already talked about that against the Alouettes. And then the big thing today just came out that Trevor Harris, the Elks leading quarterback, is out for 6 games with a neck injury. So what was already going to be a stressful game against the Blue Bombers is probably going to be much worse, although we have some XFL news with that. So do you see here the first little note we have on the show?
Yeah, what is their current I'm guessing win-loss record for the Elks right now? What do they say now?
It's like 1-4. What is the Elks record?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're not good right now. They're 2-3. 2-3. So even in the interviews today that I did, because the Trevor Harris stuff came out, like I did Milt the other day, and they're kind of out of order. Everyone says with Trevor Harris, the Elks can win. Okay, well now Trevor Harris is out. We have Taylor Cornelius. I can't talk with my braces. Just announced today he was former XFL quarterback with the Vipers. That was one of the reasons why I was originally intrigued with the Elks. And so he will be starting. But yeah, Trevor Harris is out for 6 games. That is a huge, huge, huge blow to the Elks. Trevor Harris is one of the all-stars of the league.
And you're going against the league's top team right now.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So that's not going to be great. I will be excited to see Taylor Cornelius playing. Obviously, we have the Taylor Heinicke thing tonight with the XFL. We have XFL stuff. I don't love the Taylor Cornelius spent a cup of coffee in the XFL a year and a half ago. I mean, but he also would probably not be put in this position if it weren't for that. So I'm trying not to be a homer, but still supporting everything.
Very cool stuff. Also, signings that happened, I guess, this week. Let's see, where did it go? It kind of moved around me. Devlin Duck Hodges, Red Blacks signed him. He's a quarterback. 3-year contract. Wow.
Yeah, do you know this guy? He played for the Steelers. I don't know him. I didn't know if you had any knowledge of him.
I really don't. I'm not a Steelers fan. I'm not a Giants fan either. But he's at Samford. I don't know what was the he set an FCS record, which is like there's like 2 Division 1, like in NCAA basketball there's like 1 big Division 1, but they split it in half for football, and it's the secondary Division 1 league. FCS records with 14,584 passing yards and awarded the Walter Payton Award. That's pretty impressive stuff for Mr. Hodges here, Mr. Devlin Hodges. So it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe that's going to be the secret sauce to maybe turn things around for Ottawa. They're not doing too bad. Well, they are.
No, Ottawa's right. Well, here's the issue. So Matt Nichols is injured, right? He was already had his bum arm this year. He got hurt. Dominic Davis has been playing. Obviously, did not do great last week against Michael Riley and the BC Lions. So look for potential QB changes. Although to bring this guy in, quarantine, get him up to speed. I mean, it's going to be a couple weeks, but it's not. This isn't the 21-week CFL season or whatever where we have time to bring in a quarterback midseason. We're already at week 7. We're approaching halfway through the season. So it does seem, but obviously the 3-year contract gives him a little bit of time. But yeah, Ottawa has a major red quarterback issue. And
maybe this is the guy to turn it around. He's got some good stats on, that secondary Division 1 level. So it'll be interesting to see if that helps turn things around.
Yeah, just a quick note here. BC's given out this really cool shirt. They tweeted this today. They had a big announcement this morning. Give us peace, give us compassion, give us love. Corinne Hunt is a artist up there. She kind of redesigned in like a native look. I scrunched a picture down here just so it would fit on here. But basically, I was really excited about this because this is like immediate stuff that Amar Doman, right? The new ownership, the new everything with BCI. We talk a lot about this with Giulio coming up in his interview. Things that the BC Lions are trying to do to like get more fans, get younger fans, get fans that are not like white old Canadian people to like support this league. And so I even had other fans of other teams message me and go, God, I wish like our team did this. I wish that we had, things like this that we could be excited about trying to get more fans in the stands.
What exactly is is this because of the whole, because there's been a lot of controversy over the schools and how they treated Indigenous people in that area. Is that what this is for? I don't know what this is for.
Yeah, it's every child matters. I think it has to do with that. It's just. I wish I had more info with that. I just got excited about the.
Basically, they're talking about like this kind of relates to that what I'm talking about, where they found like 215 children's bodies in unmarked graves at residential schools when it came down to like colonialism and dealing with Indigenous people on that land. So that's kind of why there's an Indigenous artist that designed these shirts. And kind of bringing awareness to that, which has been, kind of a hot button topic for people above the border, and not too many people down here know about it. But I've been keeping tabs, so it is definitely something that needs to be aware. Awareness needs to be brought to, for sure.
Well, and I told them that they should sell this and give it to charity. I mean, I tweeted that too. I said I would buy this in a second if the money went to charity. Besides just doing the giveaways in the stands, like obviously do that, get fans in, but then please sell this and let us kind of raise some money and awareness for that as well. So.
Definitely. Moving on, though, Chris Jones resigning as South Pittsburgh High School head coach to join the Argos coaching staff. What is he being listed as for?
Yeah, well, that's the question. So I asked Mike Hogan about this, and Mike goes, because sources have said that he's joining the Argonauts as their defensive coordinator, and Mike Hogan was very quick to come out and say that is not official yet. That is just per sources, rumors. Basically, the Argonauts have had a couple coaches that have stepped down due to personal reasons. People are speculating that has to do with MLSE, basically requiring the employees to be vaccinated. And so without getting, you can kind of put two and two together. Chris Jones used to be with the Roughriders. He left to go to the NFL. Then he was with South Pittsburgh High School. They haven't played in a while because of issues with COVID and everything down there. So he's kind of leaving that now to come back north. He's going through the quarantine process right now, but people are putting two and two together and they go, well, the Argonauts lost a couple of their defensive staff members. Chris Jones, defensive mind from the Roughriders coming in. He's kind of polarizing. A lot of people are excited and a lot of people are not. But like I said, I talked to Mike Hogan and he was like, that is not official yet. Really didn't want to get into it.
Well, basically, they're basically talking about anybody that's not under a collective bargaining agreement, which basically means everybody but the players. It has to get vaccinated. That's kind of what it seems the policy is. So interesting to see.
Yeah. Anyway, Craig Dickinson, we had a quote from him. He's not surprised to see him back. He's a fun guy, brings a lot of energy. He's kind of polarizing, gets a lot of interest. But, again, like things like this draw attention, right? It gives people like the CFL Newsweek until today when we're recording was a little slow, right? Obviously the Trevor Harris thing and the signing of the Duck Hodges, but this was something that has kind of carried the news cycle this week. So that's good. I mean, you need people talking about things going on in the CFL.
All right, since we're talking about COVID-19, I'm going to jump ahead of the story, then we'll go back. Okay. Kari Jones testing positive for COVID-19. Of course, the Montreal Alouettes head coach is in isolation for a minimum of 10 days, after which his situation will be reevaluated.
Crazy to me because he is double vaxxed. Crazy that would be a 10-day quarantine. That's the only takeaway I had from this. I'm like, man, like the players, in the NFL, if you get tested, it's like 2 tests within 24 hours. You're like, Kari's double vaxxed. Like I would just can't imagine that you have him on a 10-day quarantine. But obviously, better be safe than sorry. But that was kind of my takeaway. It
just makes you wonder, like even if you like you're double vaxxed and you catch it and you have no symptoms, like. You don't know if you're spreading it either. That could be also a thing because there's still plenty of people here in the United States are also, not vaxxed. So it's interesting. I think that they're erring on the side of caution here, even though you're double vaxxed. Being around people that might not be vaxxed in that case might be the problem that they're looking out for.
Yeah, I did tweet at Kari. He posted, thank you for the well wishes. I said, I hate to make your week worse by having a loss to the BC Lions on Saturday, but I hope you feel better.
Wow.
But I said, rest up, coach. I hope you feel better.
Yeah, you put a little bow on it.
Yeah.
Put a little bow on your burn. Yeah. Cody Fajardo hasn't been cleared for full go yet on his concussion protocol, but apparently he's made progress. He increased his physical workload of practice while preparing to host my Toronto Argonauts on Friday night. Very cool stuff. He took half the reps yesterday, which would probably be 2 days ago, and took 2/3 yesterday. Yep. I'm trying to undate this article. So it's going to be interesting to see if he actually goes. Yeah, we're kind of going with that in the interviews today. Just if it comes out, Cody Fajardo out for the game. We have all acted in all of our interviews as though Cody Fajardo was playing against the Argos. So it's going to be interesting if he doesn't. Yeah. Definitely going to be interesting on those interviews if he doesn't. Some spicy stuff happening. Winnipeg doing dirty stuff. Here we go. I like when the Canadians get spicy. I love that. Because you never expect Canadians to get spicy. Apparently, there was a melee at the end of the game, and at the end of the Banjo Bowl, of course, big deal. And what happened here? Did you see this? Yeah, this was the big issue with this. Andrew Harris does seem as though he gets a little bit of special privileges sometimes. He gets, how like in the NFL, some guys can wear the visors and stuff because there's DK Metcalf is a superstar. He can wear the visor, but if you're Joe Blow, whatever, you can't do that kind of stuff. That it does seem to me sometimes Andrew Harris gets a little bit of stuff. He ended up did get a fine today. They announced that he did get that. But they were upset that he didn't get thrown out of the game. A couple of the Roughriders players, basically Andrew Harris ripped a dude's helmet off. And we talked with Milt Stegall about this, that, once a helmet comes off, that's kind of you need to go kind of issue. But, it was heated. It was going into halftime. Sean McGuire, he's kind of the guy that goes in and does the running touchdowns. For Zach Collaros, they pull him out because he's, injury prone. And they were running in and there was a big skirmish. But yeah, big issue, lots of drama. And Andrew Harris did not get penalized until today with the fine. So. Saskatchewan's Garrett Marino and AJ Hendy were ejected from the game due to the rough play disqualification during the game, and then 3 members of the Blue Bombers were penalized for roughing. So very spicy stuff going on. Yeah, they announced today. I was going to add that to the thing, but I do remember that. He says, Andrew Harris says, when I see a teammate get tossed around, I'm just not going to stand there and watch. I mean, he's trying to defend him. I get all that, but it does seem like there was a lot of questions about him not getting thrown out. And so anyway. Interesting stuff. After that loss, however, let's see here. I kind of skipped around. Whoa, where did it go? Craig Dickinson praising Winnipeg is the class of the league right now. So we got the coach saying Winnipeg is the class of the league, and then you have another player saying Winnipeg is doing Winnipeg things. I think they're better than the rest. He says, I think they're better than the rest of us, and I think it's by quite a bit. Right now, they're a better football team than we are, and by quite a bit. Yeah. Interesting. I want your thoughts on this next one. Riders, AC Leonard. So this came out. I want your thoughts on this because this just got updated today. So they needed to submit a urine test. They do the random urine sampling, right, for drug testing and all that kind of stuff. That's the other thing. Andrew Harris got busted for that stuff before. And so he gets some, there's always issues with Andrew Harris. But this guy was going to do the test. And then he waited a while, made the decision not to submit the drug test. I guess he thought about it and it's well, am I positive? What would be the reason of going in to do a urine test and then not actually doing it and leaving? You smoked weed. It's okay. They have the quote from off the weed, as Stephen A. Smith would say. Dickinson goes, it's actually pretty simple. Our guys are selected for drug tests after the game randomly. He wasn't able to submit. If you don't submit, it's an automatic 2-game suspension. But then today they announced, yesterday as we record, that he was suspended for an additional game due to verbal abuse and unacceptable behavior, we shouldn't laugh, towards the doping control officer. So he didn't pee and then he came out and screamed at him. Wow. I mean, I thought that was kind of wild. I thought that was kind of interesting. If that's a condition of your play, why are you mad about that? Stay off the weed. Until you get to a point where we allow weed in the CFL and the NFL, you got to stay off it. That's just the way it works. Maybe he's doing Adderall. I don't know. Well, Hamilton Tiger Cats naming David Watford their starting quarterback for Week 7 against the Stamps. He took majority of the reps with the starting offense with a C during the prep week of practice for the Stamps. And
never started before. Is going into town against the Stampeders are coming in. That is going to be welcome to the big leagues. I would be terrified. But look, Heinicke did it against Brady.
Yep. I put that tweet out there earlier today. I said, you have to understand, Taylor Heinicke was the one that played Tom Brady's Buccaneers the closest during those playoff games last year. Be careful. And what happened? The Giants lost tonight.
Do you have any knowledge at all about New York defensive back Jeremy Clark?
I do not.
Okay, we can skip that. Ryder signed him. I didn't know if that again, but he
played with your boys.
Yeah, he played with the XFL Dragons. But some of these times, like I don't know every single. My NFL knowledge, right? We know is like a mile deep for the last like 2 years. So sometimes I don't know all these. So like maybe Paul would know. Like, oh yeah, that guy played division whatever and scored 5,000 touchdowns. So I just trying.
Not aware.
Argos, they did sign Cole McDonald. I do know Cole McDonald.
Cool.
He was from Hawaii. He was with the Titans for a little bit, a cup of coffee with the Panthers and Cardinals, but he was also in the spring league. So there you go. I do know that. I do know, again, it's a mile deep, like the last year and a half.
A very good career at Hawaii. He was the Hawaii Bowl MVP when Hawaii took on, I believe it was, trying to think here. Because Hawaii is in the Mountain West Conference. I can't remember where they played, but he was the MVP for that game. So it's cool to see Cole from the spring league, who had a couple cups of coffee in the NFL, get a job with the Toronto Argonauts. We'll see if he can outlast the McLeod Bethel Thompson. Who knows?
BYU Cougars was who they beat in the 2019 Hawaii Bowl.
Now, interesting. I was gonna guess BYU. I was just like, maybe it's BYU. Jamie Elizondo, your boy, pleased with practice debut of huge addition Derek Moncrief. He said that I saw him unblocked in the hole one time, and I looked up and said that's what they're supposed to look like. Derek's great. He's going to be a huge addition to us. It looks like he fit right in. That's credit to the coaches getting him ready.
Yeah, they picked him up last week. He was signed. He was in quarantine. He was waived by the Rams. So he got brought in. That was kind of a big signing last week, and now he's through the quarantine protocol. So that's why we are talking about that.
Oh, this is infuriating. Edmonton Elks star receiver Greg Ellingson was fined for throwing gloves to a young... What?
Yeah. It's a no fun league, Paul. It's a no fun league.
What is this a COVID thing?
COVID.
Yeah, it's got to be a COVID thing. Otherwise, this is a bad look for the CFL. If it's not COVID related, I guess that kind of makes sense in that way. But man, you need these kinds of moments to kind of draw some interest in the league, especially if it's young fans that you want to stay invested in the league.
Not saying this with Ellingson and then also Justin Renfro. He was also at the Elks. He also got fined for signing the fans hat. I have heard I think it was on Rod's show this week. It was probably on Rod Peterson's show, but certain players have handlers with them after the games, making sure that they are not interacting with the fans, right? And one could conceivably predict that has to do with their COVID vaccination status. And we obviously know what happened with the Edmonton Elks and that whole thing. So just kind of putting all of these pieces together. But Greg Ellington is a superstar receiver. He should not be, we need more players like this interacting with people, but it is sad.
Completely agree. Speaking of COVID stuff, this Friday, September 17th, marks the first Roughriders game where vaccination verification or verified negative test will be needed to enter Mosaic Stadium. That is happening almost everywhere these days. You are having to get a 48 to 72 hour test or a vaccination record to go to anything. Bars, restaurants. That's happening here in California. And apparently the Roughriders are doing that the same way.
Yeah, so they talked about it a couple weeks ago. We talked about it, and it's finally, this is official now, right? So this is the big first game. They only have 3 home games left, but this is it. The Roughriders are finally getting on board with that. So
very cool. The most watched regular season CFL game on TSN in 6 years was the 2021 Bombers Riders Labor Day with you Classic Clash.
Yep, delayed ratings come out, obviously, because of Labor Day, so we got them more this week. But yeah, it was 979,700, crazy, highest in 6 years. And then they were also saying that the NFL kickoff Thursday Night Football was the highest watch kickoff in like 6 years. So
It's popular.
Yeah,
we're watching the sports TV ratings for that time. You see that the Blue Jays are kind of ticking up on their TV watching here because they're actually getting hot now. I think it was here on this podcast. Someone was talking about how the Blue Jays. What was it? You that was talking about how the Blue Jays were done?
I heard they were done.
I said they weren't done.
Yeah.
Go to the tape. I said they weren't done, and they're not done. I knew it.
Spoiler alert, Justin Dunk writes far more articles about the CFL beating the Blue Jays in the ratings than he does about the Blue Jays beating the CFL in the ratings.
Would you expect anything else from that?
It is interesting. Like, if they beat the Blue Jays by one viewer, it's like, we killed the Blue Jays, whatever. Like, I mean, this is 884,000 to 362,000.
Interesting stuff. BC Lions also adding former Patriot Danny Etling. Is that what I'm saying? Yeah, he helped the LSU win the 2016 Citrus Bowl, and BC Lions have released Shea Patterson from Australia. Any thoughts from that?
Yeah, Shea Patterson also of the Spring League.
There you go. All right, we're gonna toss to Reed's interview with our guests, come back and do a little bit of XFL stuff. Very interesting stuff we got to talk about, after the break.
Well, Milt Stegall, thank you so much for coming on. I will tell you the feedback that we have gotten from Facebook and Twitter when I announced that you were coming on the show has been overwhelming. So thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me on. But I do have one problem right away. Why don't you have on a Milt Stegall jersey? I'm a little disappointed. I understand who you cheer for. I understand all that. But if you're going to have me on, you need to have on a Milt Stegall jersey.
I know. I will tell you, a big show today talking BC Lions. We have Julio coming on as well, a voice of the Lions. These teams are waking up to the power of the Markcast, so hopefully we can get some Blue Bomber stuff coming. How has it been going so far for you? Everything this season as we're approaching, is it week 7 now?
Yes, week 7. Yeah, no, it's been going good. I'm happy, of course, to be back in studio. The first few weeks we were I was actually working where I am right now. So it was good that the CFL was back up and running, but I'm just so excited to be back in studio. We're starting to see some good games. Of course, I think everyone knew early on it was going to be a little shaky with no preseason. Guys have been off for almost 2 years, but now we're starting to see some good CFL football. So, this is when it's going to start really counting. Guys are starting to place themselves in position for playoff spots, and it's really getting excited. So I'm excited with everyone who's involved.
Yeah, I have heard people online a little frustrated that it has been not as crisp maybe as expected. You feel content with everything, and you think it's been rolling along. It does feel like it's taken a couple weeks to kind of really get going.
It's playing football is not like riding a bike. You just don't get back on and everything is normal. It takes time. It takes timing. Of course, those players who were on those teams in 2019, there's some different teams. You look at teams like Winnipeg or Hamilton, Saskatchewan, whatever team may be. They lost some players, the free agency, the NFL. And so that means they had to pick up some different players. So it takes a while to build that continuity, that chemistry. It's not going to just happen overnight. I don't care how much talent you have. Of course, the defenses, they're going to be a little bit further ahead than offenses because that's just all about effort and heart. But offense, it takes some time and it takes getting used to the scheme and everything. So things are up and running. Things are looking better each and every week. And I think this week we're going to really see some explosive teams and some players come out of this week.
Any surprises? Winnipeg shouldn't be a surprise how good they're doing so far. Any teams that you're presently surprised with how well the records are and how well they've been playing?
Well, I'm not as well as they've been playing, but not as well. Edmonton, I thought they would be a whole lot better than what we've seen. I thought this was going to be the year for Trevor Harris. He has some weapons on offense, solid defense, but once again, he's showing. It's not just him, but that team is just showing so much inconsistency. Early on, they were my favorites to represent the West as far as the Grey Cup goes. And I said Winnipeg, I don't think they had a chance because I didn't know if Zach was going to be healthy. I said, as long as Zach is healthy, they'll be in the Grey Cup, and it's looking that way right now. But Edmonton, they're a big surprise to me, the fact that they haven't been able to overcome their inconsistencies like they had in past years. But, they still have time. Their next 3 out of the 4 games against Winnipeg, so they better get it going.
Yeah, I mean, tons of turnover there. Obviously, new head coach, letting a lot of veteran players go. I mean, we were tracking all that with the Derek Dennises of the world. I mean, just too much going leading into the season with all the off time to really get anything going. I mean, what do you think is to account for that?
Well, and I hate to put it on one person, but in the CFL, we're such a quarterback-driven league. It comes down to the quarterback. And as I alluded to, it's not all on him. It takes other guys doing their job, but Trevor, and he understands this, I'll guarantee you, he'll be the first one to tell you. He has to be more consistent with his play. He can't do what he did in the Labor Day Classic against Calgary and then come back out in the next week, last week, did what he did against Calgary. You have to be more consistent if you want to be considered an elite quarterback and if you want your team to be considered legit. And right now, they're just not doing that. So, as I mentioned, he still has time. We're going into our 7th week, but they have to position themselves now if they want to not only get a good playoff spot, but just get in the playoffs, because we know it's going to be tough coming towards the end of the season as far as teams getting into the playoffs.
Did anything strike you over the last weekend? Obviously, the Banjo Bowl. I saw Andrew Harris had some new comments come out, kind of that big scuffle and everything. Cody Fajardo being injured. Anything from that big game? We did the big preview last week with everybody, Ted Wyman and the likes, talking about that. Just it really seemed like it came to a head, all the frustrations.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. And, as a former athlete, I understand, and even you may understand. Anybody understands when you get in competition, you get in the heat of their battle and you want to protect your teammates. And I understand all that. But some of that stuff that went on, it's unfortunate. There's no place in it for professional sports, let alone football. Like I said, I can understand you protecting your players, you're getting in the middle of them. But when you have punches being thrown, when you have helmets being slung off of players, because when that helmet comes off, that's your protection. As long as helmets are on in football, you really can't do too much damage. But once that helmet comes off, that's where the damage can be done. And not putting the spotlight on Andrew Harris. The times I've talked to him, he's a great guy. The people who I've talked to him, asked about him, they always say he's a great guy. But that situation was unfortunate for both sides. And it was unfortunate that some players were kicked out and some players weren't kicked out. So hopefully that melee is in the past. We move on and we just get down to playing some football.
Yeah, Cody, the week before took some hits, right? People were worried. Here we have this franchise quarterback, taking maybe, really proudly running the ball, right? Really wanting to get in the action. Then obviously, in the game last week, the concussion protocol, I guess he's seen some practice as of today. We're recording this a little earlier this week, but thoughts on him and as that franchise quarterback, but still having to kind of protect yourself and help your team?
Without a doubt. And I always tell people, the tough player is good, but the smart player is the player that lasts long. And I understand, he wants to do whatever he can do for his team to help him get those extra yards, those first downs, whatever, and be that tough guy. But I want my franchise quarterback to be available. And to be available, you can't take all those hits. I don't care how tough you are mentally, physically, how much you lift. You continue taking those hits, and there's going to be some wear and tear on you. So hopefully he understands that, because we know when he's at the top of his game, he's a really special player. And that's good not only for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, but also for the CFL. As I mentioned before, this is a quarterback-driven league, and we need our top quarterbacks on the field. So hopefully he's able to play this week. As you said, he's going through concussion protocol, and they haven't said if or if not he's going to be playing this week, but hopefully he can play, because they need him, and they need him at the top of their game for them to have an opportunity to compete and win some games.
Yeah, they're going up against the Argonauts. Thoughts on Chris Jones coming back to the league? I've seen a lot of excitement, mixed reaction. Some people seem really excited. Some people don't. That's a little before our time with the league. Thoughts about Chris Jones coming back?
I love it. I love it. Chris Jones, I know some people don't like the way he leads things. He leads teams left and right. He left the Calgary Stampeders. He left Saskatchewan. He left his high school. You know what? Chris Jones is good for the league, because, people are talking about it. And when you're talking about things, you're talking about individuals in the CFL, good or bad, it's good, because people are perking up. And now they're interested. They want to see what Chris Jones is going to do. So I guarantee you'll have some people who may not have been interested in the CFL, but they want to see what Chris Jones is going to do. He's a character. He brings life to teams. He brings life to players. He's one of the most polarizing figures, in the last decade in the CFL. So it's good to have him back. I'm excited to see what he's going to do this week. I think it's just a matter of time before that defense is his. I know this week it won't be that way. He's still in quarantine because he's coming up from the States, but I'm excited to see Chris Jones back and have him back in the CFL.
Yeah, I really don't know like what the Argonauts are. You know, it really seems like they came out strong, have struggled. Obviously, last week with the clutch win over the Tiger Cats. You know, Dane Evans going down, upset. Thoughts on Dane Evans and then kind of the Argonauts heading into this week?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like as we talked about with Saskatchewan's quarterback, you know, when you get hurt, it's difficult. The good thing about them, if he is healthy, they have a suitable backup in Jeremiah Masoli, but they were rolling. They were doing pretty well with Dane Evans. Of course, they were struggling in that Toronto game, but up to that point, they were doing pretty well with him. I think they were going to ride him out, but now he's out at least 4 to 6 weeks dealing with a lower body injury. They say it may be something core injury, maybe, but they do have a suitable backup if Jeremiah Masoli is healthy. As far as Toronto goes, you know, Nick Arbuckle is their guy. You know, Dinwiddie brought him over from Calgary, of course, originally. They didn't have him there. He was with Ottawa, but I know he's happy to have him there. He knows his system. Those two have some chemistry together, but he just has to get going. You know, he's still young as far as his starting quarterback career goes. He still has to get going. I think right now they're happy that their defense got going because that allows that offense time to get going. So they're excited about what they have there. They're excited about Chris Jones, and I know Ryan Dinwiddie pretty well. He's a very intelligent guy. He's going to get the best out of his players, and most important, he's going to get the best out of his young quarterback, and Nick Arbuckle.
Are we worried about with Masoli coming back? I know he had some rib injuries. You know, facing the Stampeders, Bo came back. How do you think Bo looked in his kind of re-debut this season, and what do you make of that game coming into this week?
He looked okay. He looked okay, and he'll be the first to tell you that he looked okay. He struggled. You know, that's not the Bo we're used to seeing. To some quarterbacks, you know, that would have been okay. But for Bo standards, and as I alluded to, he'll be the first. He didn't look well. You know, him and it was good to see him and Kamar Jordan make that connection and make some big plays. But he knows if they want to be able to compete with the big dogs, with Winnipeg and some other teams, he has to play a lot better. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this week. He's going to be in for another tough battle. Teams are going to test him to see what he's made of. But I think he'll play better. How much better, I don't know. It remains to be seen. But he knows he has to play a lot better than that if they want to get back to where they were in previous years.
Yeah, I heard a lot being made of him getting into a scuffle on the sidelines with the coach or whatever, them kind of bickering back and forth. It seemed, at least that would be a good thing that Bo would have that comfortability, right, to kind of feel like he could voice his opinions and frustrations.
Without a doubt, you're dealing with some alpha males. You know, Dave Dickinson, he's the head coach, and Bo Levi Mitchell is a top-notch quarterback. So I'm sure that wasn't a big deal. That probably happened more often than we know. We just don't see it all the time. Of course, it's good TV, but those guys, that's what happens. When you're dealing with someone you've been dealing with for years, you guys bump heads sometimes. It's like being in a marriage. You know, you're going to bump heads sometimes, but you understand the main goal, and that's winning games, and those guys understand it. I'm sure afterwards they had a laugh about it, but it may happen again. It's just part of the game, and it's no big deal.
I feel very confident in Winnipeg and the Blue Bombers against the Elks, just with everything we talked about earlier. Any other thoughts on that matchup and how I feel like they're pretty going to roll right over the Elks? Just, it seems like they have a lot of momentum right now.
They do, but with Trevor Harris, you just don't know which Trevor Harris is going to show up. Is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know, and maybe another character in there. You know, Trevor Harris, when he's on his game, he's one of the best. I mean, he has two great receivers. They have some other younger guys, great running back, and JWJ. And when he's on his game, it's hard to stop him, but he just has to get on his game. If he's not on his game, you know, Winnipeg has held 4 of their 6 opponents under 10 points, and I can see him doing the same thing if he's not on his game. But if he's on his game, he could go up there and put up 30, 40 points. So Trevor Harris mentally has to go out there and say, I'm going to go out here and get it done. I don't care what Winnipeg, how they've dominated in the past. I'm going to go out here and get it done. If he can have that mindset, he can get a good early start. They can give Winnipeg a run for their money. But if not, Winnipeg is going to dominate and just mentally take Trevor Harris and that offense out of the game.
Heading into game of the week, I would say we have the Lions against the Alouettes. You know, we have obviously the unfortunateness of head coach Kahar Jones, you know, testing positive. I tweeted at him. I said, you know, I'm sorry to make your week even worse with the Lions victory on Saturday. You know, not to rough too much salt in it. Thoughts on that first off, and having to go into the game without your head coach, right? Only doing the stuff via Zoom, and then any thoughts on that matchup? I mean, the Lions looked really, really good last week, albeit against Ottawa. You know, it's not a large feat, but thoughts on that?
Hey, Ottawa's still a professional team, so yeah. Now I won't take too much away from it, but yeah, now the Lions did look well. I like what Lucky Whitehead is doing. He's dominating not only on special teams but also when he gets the ball in his hand. But speaking about the Alouettes, it's going to be a different situation. Still, Kahari Jones, he's still trying to be able to call the game from his living room. I don't know if they have the capability, the technology to do that, but he still wants to call the game because the guys behind him who's going to be calling it, they haven't been in that position yet. And it's not an easy task when you're dealing with, trying to make plays and make calls with 20-second play clock. And this is where the experience of Vernon Adams have to come into play. There's going to be some times where he has to say, okay, this is when I feel comfortable running and this is when I'm going to run. So it's going to be a difficult situation if Kahari can't have the input like he has in past, in past games when he's on the sideline. And I don't know how he's going to do that from the comfort of his own home, but it's going to be difficult. But the one thing they have going for them, like in past years, even going back to when Wally was coaching, it's been very difficult for the Lions to win when they have to cross country and play those Alouettes. So in past years, it's been difficult for them. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Vernon Adams is really going to have to use his experience being the starting quarterback. I know it hasn't been long, but he's going to have to really use that experience and say, okay, this is what feels comfortable for me, and this is what I want to run in these certain situations.
Yeah, it seems like, they obviously had the bye last week. It seems like Vernon really rediscovered his love of throwing touchdown passes, right? I mean, they really looked good the week heading into the bye. I think they won 51-14 or whatever it was. It's this like roller coaster, right? That some weeks that he looks really good. Some weeks it does seem like his confidence is a little rattled, right?
Yeah, once again, not taking anything away from him, but it was against Ottawa. So let's keep things in perspective. But no, it was good for him. It seems like struggling mentally. It is difficult over that hump. I don't care how physically well you've done in the past. When things aren't going well for you mentally, you need that confidence booster. And it seems he got that when he put up that big game against Ottawa. You could see afterwards how emotional he was after the game in that interview. So that's good for him. But now he has to ride that momentum. And when he faces some adversity, he has to go back and think about the times where he did well and how he was able to overcome that adversity. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. As you mentioned, BC is playing some good football, so they're going to come in and try to continue that. So Vernon Adams has to go out there and have a good early start, and maybe that will allow him to continue building up that mental toughness.
Yeah, just one final thought about BC. Lucky Whitehead really did. It seems like huge game for him. I love the personality, right? Someone that you can build around, market around right here. BC has a new ownership. We're trying to figure out how to kind of grow that. Like that is the kind of thing, having that just such a tremendous star and personality coming in on the scooter. He's got the hat, everything. It all really worked. Any final thoughts on BC before we wrap this up?
Yeah. You talk about Lucky, but you can't forget, Brian Burnham, who's maybe has the best hands in the CFL. He's just a low key type of guy, but those guys have a great 1-2 punch. Mike Riley is doing well. You see that defense is starting to play better, so they're starting to put it together. But now it's going to be more of a challenge going against Montreal. Let's be honest. Ottawa offensively, they're challenged. So you can't play a game like that against Ottawa, then come back and play a bad game. So they have to keep it together. They're trying to position themselves for a good spot in the West. As far as the playoffs go, of course, Winnipeg is the cream of the crop, but whoever that second spot is still up in the air. Saskatchewan was holding it down, but they've lost 2. So the BC Lions have an opportunity to take full control of that second spot in the West. And it starts with this upcoming week's battle against the Montreal Alouettes.
My last question for you today, you've been so gracious, thank you so much for your time. How great is it being back, just kind of covering this? I see you guys on the desk now, going in and out of the games, just football back, fans back. What has everything been like, just this last couple of weeks and really getting to get all the way back into this?
Man, you know what? It's the greatest feeling in the world. I tell people all the time, I've never worked a day in my life. I played professional football for 17 years. Now I get paid to watch and talk about football with some great group of gentlemen. And, of course, our wonderful leader, lady, Kate Burnett. So I'm just having a great time. I pinch myself every morning I wake up. The fact that I've been involved with the CFL since 1995 and the country of Canada and the way it's treated me. If I can never get an opportunity to call another game or work another, I can say I'm truly blessed for the opportunities I have. So I have a great time. As I alluded to earlier, it's great being back in the studio talking about CFL football with some great individuals. So I'm having a great time, and hopefully I can continue doing this for another 10, 15 years at least.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it would be good. I just thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope this will be a fun episode, and I know there's a lot of excitement. So thank you. I know you're a busy guy and flying out to do all this stuff, so I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me on, and take care. And like I said, I got to get you a Milt Stegall jersey. I can't have you with this BC Lions jersey with Milt Stegall on.
There you go. Thanks again, and we'll see you this weekend.
All right, take care. Have a good one.
Well, we have Mike Hogan here with the Toronto Argonauts. I will tell you, I was, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. I have been going back and forth with our mutual friend, Jim Mullen, about, programming things. He's hanging out with BC Lions owner Amar Doman. And I say, hey, let's get the hookup. And so I said, well, I'm so proud of the show I put together this week without his help. And I forgot that he actually was the one that put me in contact with you. So thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. And friend, me and Mullen, the acquaintance, business, I don't know, acquaintance would work. I don't want to call him my friend. He might take that, to mean that I actually like him.
Yeah, and also part of the Krown Gridiron Nation, right? Is that Jim always wants to make sure that we talk about that. Entering into season 9 or something. I saw him post the other day.
Yeah, it really is good, and it's been interesting to watch the progression where it was. Just kind of the small timey thing from the West Coast, and every year it's gotten better. And then, when the highlights and everything was rolling, it really started looking good. And, being able to get on TSN finally has been a godsend for the show, because it just helps tell the story of the great Canadian athletes we have playing in the States and the other great Canadian athletes who have stayed home to play youth sports football. So, so many stories to tell, and we're just happy to be able to maybe have some fun with it, but also, let people know about some of the players that normally they wouldn't hear about.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, for doing all this. Busy week. It ended up kind of being for the Argonauts. I didn't, obviously we didn't plan all this. What do you make of Chris Jones and all the like? And it seems like a lot of attention going to the Argonauts right now.
Well, Chris Jones is not a member of the Argonauts, for one thing. We had 2 coaches who made decisions early in the week, and they're on leave right now. And right now, I can tell you that Rich Stubler is going to be calling the signals on Friday night against Saskatchewan, and Kevin Ivan has taken on a little more opportunity, and we'll be doing a little bit more with the defense, obviously, and we'll be up top, I believe, in Regina on Friday night. And as Coach Dinwiddie has said, they're talking to people about filling a role, and when something is ready to be announced, I'm sure it'll be Pinball or Dinwiddie making the announcement, not me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, it certainly wasn't anything that was planned ahead of time, but it was like, speaking of Pinball, just first off, talk about what a breath of excitement that it seems like he brings, has brought forever, but to the organization. I've heard him now on many media appearances as the GM. What has that brought to the fan base? We've had people on in the past with the Argonauts talking about building the fan base, right? Building the excitement. What has he done to help kind of rejuvenate that?
Every franchise in sports has that guy that seems to be, the one at the top of the food chain whenever you're talking about who the best representative of that organization is. And with the Argonauts, it's Mike Clemens. Pinball did everything you could ask for as a player, carried the football more than any player in the history of pro football when you take all-purpose yardage into account. And then, won a Grey Cup as a coach, and then as an executive, and was the president of the team, and is absolutely beloved by everybody in Toronto, whether they're an Argo fan or not. Like, even if you have the folks in town who just wouldn't know 2 players on the Argos, they know who Pinball Clemens is, and they will immediately say something nice about him. That's who he is. Everybody should be so lucky as to have Mike Clemens as their boss to come in and give you that high five first thing in the morning, or the hug, or now the elbow more than anything else in these times. But everything you hear about Mike Clemens is true. The one thing that might not be appreciated enough by those who don't know Mike is how competitive he is and how much he wants to win. And that's obvious every day. He's trying to make the Argonauts better on and off the field. That's
good. Speaking of, the Argonauts winning, big win last weekend, right, against Hamilton. It came down to the wire, obviously with the, unfortunate injury to Dane Evans. What have you made? It really has been, Argonauts came out. We were high on McLeod Bethel-Thompson. We proclaimed him the king of the CFL. Then obviously we got pulled. Now we have Nick Arbuckle. What have we made of the Argonauts thus far heading in now to week 7?
I think that the defense is still a little bit ahead of the offense, and when you take a team that had 75 new players roughly going into camp this year, and the fact that there were no exhibition games this year, preseason games, essentially that game against Hamilton was the third game that everybody had played, and sometimes I think people are expecting way too much too early. The defense has been great. It's the best team in the league against the run. The late touchdown that Hamilton scored, a 21-yard run by Sean Thomas Erlington, was the first touchdown on the ground the Argos had given up all year, and it was the first run of 20 or more yards the Argos had given up all year. So defensively, they fly to the football. The secondary is phenomenal. Defensive line's doing what it's asked to do. Linebackers fly around out there. They're fun to watch. And every week you see the offense getting a little bit better. And sometimes it's coming in spurts. It's not consistent yet. But again, that was week 3 with a bunch of guys who never played with one another for the most part. So I'm really anxious to see what this team is like come playoff time, because if this team has progressed to this point so far from scratch, I can't wait to see what it can do with another 10 weeks under its belt.
Yeah, and obviously, we had the whole thing with the Elks, and I don't want to get into all that, but just like not having a regular, we're playing the game, we're practicing, we have these bye weeks, what are we doing? We're traveling, we got to reschedule that game now for later. I mean, it just hasn't been the most straightforward path so far for the team, right?
No, and I mean, the other thing that's been amazing when you look at the team's record, which is 3-2 right now, when I saw the schedule come out, I went, got to open in Calgary. That's not easy. Then it's home and home against Winnipeg. Okay. Then we play Edmonton, the team that a lot of people in the preseason said was going to win the Grey Cup. And then home and home with Hamilton. And then we go to Regina. If you looked at that and said 2-5, a lot of people may have said, okay, that looks okay. We're already 3-2. We're playing with house money, if that was your aspect. I know nobody in the organization was thinking that, but when you did look at that schedule coming out, it was like, oh boy, with a bunch of guys who haven't played together before, this is going to be rough. And to beat Winnipeg, to beat Hamilton, I thought the scoreboard was probably flattering in each one of those instances. The Argos left some points on the board in both of those games, and continued to shoot itself in the foot in the Hamilton game, and still came up with a win. So the team is in a pretty good spot right now, considering what the schedule has been like. The game in Regina is the last time we have to go west. Everything now is a home game or Hamilton, Montreal, or Ottawa. So the schedule is a lot more favorable. We got 4 road games out of the way already. So again, the time, if they can come up with a win in Regina and make it 2 in a row and continue to get that ball rolling, it's a pretty good place to be in.
Well, and even with the Blue Bombers, right, and being able to kind of hand them their 1L so far. I mean, obviously there seems to be a lot of good things going for the team right now.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look at the number of guys on the injured list right now, I mean, you could have a front 4 of Shane Ray and Cordero Law and Nevis, and I'm missing somebody. There's 4 guys on there who could start for most teams and be Coney Ely, and it's a pretty good front 4. And Bear Woods hasn't played a game this year, and Robertson Daniel's been hurt. And on and on and on. President Butler missed the last game. Archon Cahoon's been out. Offensive line, our best lineman in camp was Isaiah Cage. He got hurt. And that's long-term. Juwan Brescison. So when you look at all of the guys who were expected to be contributors to this team who are out, and when they start coming back, the rich are only going to get richer.
Heading in here now, right? We're taking on Saskatchewan. They're coming off some struggles, right? This week Cody Fajardo. I mean, I think we're expecting he's going to play. I saw the last. Dickinson said, he's feeling good, looking good. What are we making of this matchup? Saskatchewan looked so dominant, and then obviously the double losses to Winnipeg. What are we kind of making of that?
Well, you never want to get a team coming off, an embarrassing loss to its arch rival, because they're going to have a pretty rough week, and want to get out there and show that was a mistake. Much like it was a short week after Labor Day for the Argos. Nobody took that loss in Hamilton, as decisive as that was, lightly, and couldn't wait to get back on the field. And I'm sure the Riders are feeling the same way, that they just want to get back out and in front of their home crowd show that that was a one-off in the Banjo Bowl. So that's going to be tough. It's going to make the first quarter very tough. And should Saskatchewan come up with some points early, that's going to fuel the fire a little bit more with that crowd. So maybe silencing them and getting out to a lead early might be the thing that the doctor could best prescribe for the Argonauts on Friday. But it's a good team. Whether Cody's 100% or not, I think everybody's prepared to play against him. Like you say, when he went out and practiced on Tuesday, it was like, okay, Fajardo's going to be the guy. And if he's not, that's fine.
Yeah, it just adds just a totally different layer to that team. I mean, I just don't even know what that looks like this year. He's just been such a presence, as in the offense and making things happen when it doesn't seem like there's a place to even make it happen. And I don't know. I have to imagine that there was sighs of relief, when they saw him come out and looking good heading into the weekend. So.
Yeah, we do. You never want to see a guy hurt. Like Dane Evans got hurt at the end of the game against Hamilton. Nobody wants to see that. You want to see the guys go out and play their best and beat their best. And anybody who's been around the sport of football knows that injuries suck, and it's not a contact sport; it's a collision sport, and stuff like that happens. I'm really happy for Cody. I really am. I mean, he played here in Toronto and was never going to see the field, just with the depth chart, aside from the short yardage stuff. The Saskatchewan fans don't want to remember his quarterback sneak in 2017 that won the East Final and got the Argos to the Grey Cup against the Riders. But, I'll throw that in there. But, I will be the first to admit I didn't see this coming for Cody, and I'm thrilled for him. I love stories where guys come out of nowhere. Maybe with Kolaris, people expected it. With Trevor Harris, people expected it. I don't think anybody expected Cody to become as good as he was 2019. And really happy for him. I love his perseverance and the fact that he's been able to play. And I'd love to see him out on the field on Friday because, first and foremost, I want him to be healthy.
Yeah, speaking of Dane Evans going down, right, Hamilton, I want to do briefly kind of touch on these other matchups just to kind of get your thoughts on it. I was trying to Google David Watford, right? Is that the starter now for the? I was trying.
Well, if Mazzoli's not ready to go, but he'd be next guy up.
Yeah, I just saw it. Yeah, today I think they said they're naming Watford as a starter. What do you make of that? Obviously Bo comes back, looked good. It didn't seem like Calgary had it all going right last week. What are we making of this matchup kicking off tomorrow night?
Well, if it is the newbie, I mean, he didn't get any warm up at all after Dane got hurt, and he didn't look good. So with another week under his belt, I assume taking the number one reps, he'll be a lot better than he was. He just didn't look ready against the Argos, and it's tough when you're QB3 all of a sudden, and QBs 1 and 2 are out. And you're thrown to it without very many reps. That's not an easy situation to be in. So I expect him to be better. But, Calgary's got something to prove. The games between Calgary and Hamilton are always entertaining. It doesn't matter if one team's up, one team's down. They really usually put on a pretty good show. And that's exactly what we're expecting. And, of course, in Argo land, we're all hoping for a Calgary win.
The episode today, we're focusing a little bit about the BC Lions. I have a wager going with the guys over at the Alouettes Flight Deck podcast. Yeah, I feel very good about the Lions, even though they're traveling across the country, all these things. It really did seem like a coming home party last weekend for the Lions, right? Like 45 points. I mean, I was having the best night of my life, drinking beer. It was great. What are we making of this? And should I be worried about my wager against the guys over there?
Are there points involved, or is this just straight up?
We have to change. I have to update our Twitter profile to Alouettes logo if we lose, because I want the Alouettes Flight Deck podcast, the number one Alouettes podcast, to have a BC Lions logo on it for a week. That was the wager.
I'm really looking forward to this game because these are two teams I just can't figure out how good they are. And, Montreal, I'll admit, in 2019, Montreal blew me away with how good they were because I didn't see that coming at all. And now that the expectations were a little bit higher, I think still people are where everybody were looking at Hamilton as being the beast of the East and kind of looking at the Argos and Alouettes and saying, okay, now what? And I think we got a pretty good handle on who we are. And now it's getting a chance to see Montreal. We have our next home game is a week from Friday against Montreal. And I can't wait for that one. I mean, not trying to look past Saskatchewan at all because that's going to be a lot of fun. But, I really am intrigued to see what Montreal's all about. Likewise, BC. So, who came out and had that really weird first week game against Saskatchewan that I still can't figure out for the life of me, but made it very entertaining. And that receiving core and, with Lucky Whitehead now back there returning kicks, holy smokes. It looks like a team that's going to be able to score from anywhere on the field. And if you're playing them, that's always got to be a concern.
That would be good. I'm scared now that I saw the CFL, the CFL.com picks came out and it's mostly favoring the Alouettes. But then if you look at their how well they've done, most of the writers, including friend of the show Pat Steinberg, have a losing record for picks. So I'm hoping that we're going to be okay.
Yeah, just look at whatever Matt Cause bet the opposite. Yeah. That's my best advice.
That's good. Obviously, Winnipeg, right? They're running away with everything right now. Just came off a wonderful, double weekend. The Elks, also have looked strong lately, right? Well, I guess they lost to the Stamps last week, but really had that showing the week before. It seems like maybe are they getting something going? What are we making of the Elks and the Blue Bombers?
Well, Blue Bombers are the Blue Bombers, right? We went out there in week 3 and they put a pretty good licking on us, and 120 yards and penalties certainly didn't help when you're playing a team that's tough to beat in their building to begin with. And then, a week later they came to Toronto, and I think the total yards was something like 460 to 250. In the Argos' favor. So, they're a team that's beatable. They're an exceptionally good team, but I don't think that there's that team this year that has separated themselves from everybody else. I don't think there's a 96 Argos or a Flutie era Stampeders out there or a Warren Moon Eskimos out there. I think there's a good chance that anybody can win on any, I know it's a cliche and I hate doing that to you, but, any given night in the CFL, a team can win. Ask the Elks. I mean, they lost to Ottawa, and Ottawa seems to have the most work to do right now among any team in the CFL, but they beat Edmonton. So strange things can happen, and I don't really get surprised, at any point when a team wins in this league because, if Winnipeg is the consensus number 1, I don't know if they are or not, but if that's the way they're going, and Ottawa's the number 9 team in the league, the teams between them, I think, are all capable of winning again on any given night.
Yeah, except for Ottawa. I feel like they're the both.
But then again, you look at that coaching staff. They didn't expect, Matt Nichols to have the arm problem that he's obviously going through. So they've had to adjust on the fly, and they lost some guys just before camp opened to unexpected retirements. And it might be some tough sledding, but with Lapalisse up there and Coach Benavides up there, they've got some guys who've seen a lot in this league, and they're going to be as well prepared for any team on any given night. And it was tough watching that game in BC because I think a fan of any team in this league has been in that situation where you're on the wrong end of a bad score. 2019. As a BC fan, you'll remember your home game against us. That was not fun to watch. And maybe the tweet of the year from Adam Kruger, our social media guy, who at halftime, it's a late game, obviously a Saturday night game in the East, actually tweeted out, I wonder who's on SNL tonight. So we've all been in that situation where your favorite team goes through a night or a couple of nights like that. So Ottawa will bounce back. It's just a question of when.
Yeah, I will. Toronto killing it with the social media right across the board. I feel like that is right with a bullet number 1 social media presence. Right,
there's your power ranking. That's it, and undisputed. Yeah. Adam Kruger's number 1. Yeah. I will die on that hill.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Interacting with these teams now, and we're working with BC. I think we finally have getting some inroads there, so it should be good. But it's a slog, and it's interesting to see who picks up the mantle. But Toronto without a doubt the best. Obviously, you have a stakes in one of these games. Before I let you go, game of the weekend that you're most looking forward to. It is okay if it's the Argos, but I would generally like to know what you think is going to be the most exciting game of the weekend.
I'm from an outsider. I always look forward to Calgary Hamilton. I just because there's something's going to happen in that game. For purely selfish interests, obviously Friday night is going to be the second game is going to be the one. So Friday night's going to be a fun night in front of the television. I'm sure that I will have enough junk food to get me through the night, and with the late night game, enough soft drinks and sugar. So I'm going to be really unhealthy on Saturday morning. Hopefully, I'll be doing it with a smile on my face, though.
Yeah, no, the double Friday, Saturday right now seems to work. It's not wonderful for my wedding schedule. I've ended up watching a lot of these games on delay, but that was why I was into the XFL, because it was February to April. It was my off season. It was wonderful times. But yes, I think
how many hours did you spend last Saturday in front of the television?
For the CFL,
for the 9-hour CFL marathon.
I watched the BC game. I couldn't talk my wife into. I watched Hamilton on Friday. I watched BC in full on Saturday. I could not talk. We had a friend's child's birthday party, so I had to miss the. I actually missed the Banjo Bowl and watched a lot of it on replay. So yes, don't.
We had dinner around that time, so it was kind of out of hand in the second half. I made it to the end of the BC Ottawa game, though. I was proud of myself.
Yeah, it's one of those, when we have Thursday, when we have Friday, when we have Saturday and Sunday and Monday, it's like, okay, I would do it all, but yes, you know how it is. It's happy spouse, happy house. So we gotta be in there. So, Mike, this has been delightful. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope we can keep you in the Rolodex and talk some more Argos here coming up in the future.
Really enjoyed it despite the Jim Mullen connection.
I know. We now we can go between ourselves. We don't have to go.
Don't hold that against me, okay?
Yeah, we'll go. We'll circumvent and we'll go outside of that. So, Mike, good luck this weekend, and I hope that it's a success. I maybe Roughriders are on a downward slide. Maybe they don't win again. We'll see.
You're a Lions fan. You have to cheer for the Argos on Friday night.
I am cheering. I'm cheering for friends of the show. So I'm cheering for.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're a friend of the show, then I will cheer for the Argos. So thank you.
Awesome. Much appreciated.
See ya. Well, Guilio Caravatta, we have you here. I will tell you, this is the third interview I've done for this episode, but it is the most excited. We have the voice of America's CFL team, the BC Lions. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
This is exciting. I mean this, because we're working in, we were doing the Elks thing for a little bit mistakenly. Now it turns out today with Trevor Harris being out, maybe I really got off the train on the good time. And now we're with BC. How has everything been going so far this season for you?
It's been great. I think, for all of us, I would imagine the players, obviously, it's been a very, very different year, with COVID and training camp and, the isolation and tier 1 and tier 2 and all that stuff. And even when you travel, it's different. So, the same is for us. Like we're all creatures of habit. I've been doing this a long time. So, it takes you out of a kind of a routine that you have, but it's like everything else. Like we've all learned to adapt. We all learned to kind of abide by what the new rules are. And we, do the best with what we have in front of us. And, I won't lie. It's been exciting. This has been an exciting year in the sense that I think the Lions have, a really young, exciting team. So up to this point, I think they've, pretty much, I think outside of, that first half in Saskatchewan, and I'm sure everyone would agree, like they laid a bit of an egg against Edmonton, but, pretty much all the games have been exciting. They're good. They're young. And I think that the future looks very bright for this team.
Yeah, I was looking at your Wikipedia and everything, setting this up. I mean, you've been broadcasting, right, for years now, right? I mean, a really long time, have obviously gone through a ton of different, teams and players and owners and stuff. I mean, it does really seem with Amar Doman coming on, right, with the new ownership. I just literally, before you came on, the Lions announced a new giveaway at the home game. I guess that'll be next week, right? Whenever they're back home.
Next week.
I tweeted, I go, please sell me one of those. I want to buy and support that. We're going on the 16th. But I mean, just talk about the excitement that is going on with this franchise now.
Yeah, well, as you said, it was a long time that David Braley, owned the team, and he was looking to sell the team, and unfortunately, Mr. Braley passed away. I think, I've got nothing but great things to say about Mr. Braley. I was fortunate enough to play under him, and a lot of my broadcasting career was with him as the owner. But Amar Doman is exactly what this team needs, right? He's young. He has a level of excitement. I think he really has a plan moving forward on what he thinks needs to happen with this football team, especially in the stands and with the fans. He just, like I said, he brings a level of excitement. Everybody that I talked to who was at the game last week, they just say about what a good time they had. It was a great vibe. It was exciting. There was just a really good vibe in the stadium. And I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see him really try to get to the young people, get that younger generation back in the stadium, however he can get them in the stadium and get them excited about Canadian football. And we all talk about the fact that this league, I think, has missed out on a generation, right? They've missed out on that younger generation that, they just let slip by. And now they have to regain those young kids. And so getting them to the stadium, getting them exposed to the game. And now too, like with the swag and with giveaways and all that kind of stuff, he wants to get kids in Lions t-shirts and wearing Lions hat, like your great hat and great jersey that you have on. So, so there's a level of excitement that he's brought to the team. And, I said this when he took over the team, is that he is a guy that is exactly what Mr. Braley wanted. He is local. He has local connections. When he calls his friends, when he calls people in the business community, they're going to call him back because he's that well respected in the community. And, I think you're going to see a lot of those businesses all jump on board. And when you have that kind of local, investment in the team, then it's going to be successful.
You would be amazed. This is actually a custom. One of our listeners sent this to me. This is a custom. It says Markcast on the back.
Nice.
So, I mean, the excitement's growing. I heard from Matt Baker, with the BC Lions. I think we're going to be having some swag coming our way. I think we're going to, I feel like the Lions are getting on board with, promoting even our small little bit that we're doing, but, really just trying to get the word out there, get the excitement. It does feel good that I even have people on Twitter message me, like when we saw the giveaway, and they go, man, this is something that other teams should be doing, right? I mean, I know Edmonton did a little bit of that at the beginning of the season.
With the jersey or the T-shirts, right?
Yeah, but this is the kind of stuff that we need to be doing more and more. And it can't just be one thing, but, trying to create that snowball effect is, sure. Are you feeling that in the community, the excitement since the new owner?
Well, Reed, I'll tell you too, that I coach at the high school level. I help one of my friends coach at Centennial High School here in Coquitlam. And, I know that the kids are asking me more about the Lions and, hey, I heard it was a good game, or I watched the game. And those are the baby steps that need to happen, right? Those are the baby steps. And so, when you have that kind of grassroots, where you're talking about the game, and now the next step is to get those kids to a game. And I know Mr. Doman is talking about, busing these amateur groups down into the stadium and getting the kids in the stadium. And that's where it all starts. So that to me is the one thing over the years that I wish that, Mr. Braley would have done more of, was get more of that younger generation. And Mr. Doman, I think, realizes the importance of it and is going to do everything he can to get them into the stadium.
Speaking of the games, we had a wonderful showing last weekend against the Red Blacks, right? To me, as close to when I am taken from this earth, right, and I go to heaven, I want to see something like that game that the Lions played. What was it, 45-13? What was the excitement following that game, and what were your thoughts on the game?
Well, I think from a personal standpoint, I think what really impressed me was the fact that the Lions played 60 minutes. Right, they played from start to finish. They had great energy early on, and that was all set up by the great return by Rainey to start the game. But I think as far as a complete game, offense, defense, special teams, and the contribution that all three of them made really stood out to me. So, a lot of people will say that, it was the Ottawa Red Blacks and blah, blah. Listen, this is professional football. Yeah. Those guys get paid. You got to take care of business when you can take care of business, and that's the bottom line. And so it doesn't matter who your opponent is. When you're a championship caliber team, you take care of business when it's in front of you. And the Lions were able to do that. So I think that we saw what the Lions, I think, are capable of. Now it's all about that level of consistency, right? It's about doing that each and every week. And I know every coach strives for that kind of performance, but I think Rick Campbell's got to be happy. You got to remember something too, Reed, is that this is a young team, especially on defense. They have all those young defensive linemen. They have, a couple of defensive backs in Keontae Harden and Jalen Edwards-Cooper that are rookies. You got Jordan Williams, that's a rookie. And then you've got 5 or 6 defensive linemen that are in their first year in the Canadian Football League. That's a lot of firsts beside a lot of names. So, to be where they are, especially defensively, it's been very impressive. And offensively, I think as you see Michael Riley get healthier, you're going to see this offense become more and more dangerous. And when you got Rainey and you got Lucky Whitehead back there, your special teams is capable of hurting you or helping you at any time.
Yeah, Michael Riley, I think it was, right, he tied his record, right, for 4 TD passes. I know they kept him in the game longer because I really think he wanted to beat his record, right? Was that kind of your takeaway from that?
Well, I think Mike's a competitor. And the other part is that you got to remember something, that Mike's not practicing very much, right? Like if you go to a Lions practice, he's still limited during the week. Like he doesn't throw very much. So I think the more game reps that he gets, the better. I would have liked to have seen him maybe come out a series earlier than that. But that's, again, we're talking about very, very competitive people that don't want to, miss out on those opportunities. And, for all of us who watch the game and our armchair quarterbacks, we're all say, oh yeah, he should have been taken out of the game. But again, Mike's, he's a competitor. He wants to play. He wants to be out there. So, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, it's like when they talk with Cody Fajardo, right? And he's running the ball and diving and stuff. And they go, don't do that. And they go, well, it's a competitor in me, right?
Yeah,
you can't limit that.
For sure. That's exactly it. These guys are where they are for a reason, right? They're highly competitive, highly skilled. And when you're talking about the game is being played at such a high speed and high level, those are all just reactionary things that they do because that's what they've been doing their whole lives. So, I know that, having been around players like that, and I was like that as well. You don't want to get taken out. You want to play, you want to compete, and whatever skill set you bring to the table, you want to showcase that.
Speaking of, we talked to Lucky Whitehead, how big of a star is he becoming? I feel like he is kind of this young, hip, coming to the stadium. He's got the scooter, he's got the hat, but then he also backs it up on the field, right? The NFL, we have the whole juju thing, and I can't stand that of someone that does all this stuff and then gets blown out. But, he comes in, does his thing, and then, the touchdown, run, right, the kick, return, run back, and then play great. Talk about a star like him really trying to revitalize that interest as well.
Yeah, well, I think that he's part of what that new generation wants. Like you say, he showed up in an electric scooter. He's bombing around. He's definitely got a certain swag to him that I think a lot of people, really, really like. But most importantly, he's a dynamite player. Like he's very, very dynamic. Like when they first signed him, I thought, oh yeah, they're going to have that guy that, you can give the ball on jet sweeps and screens and all that stuff. I didn't realize how good a route runner he is, like as a receiver. And so that's the part of his game that has really, really impressed me, because all the other stuff I knew he could bring to the table. But when you have a guy who's brings that skill set to your offense, he makes them so dangerous. And the Lions are lucky to have him. The fans are lucky to have him, because he's one of those players that when you put the ball in his hands, however you get it into his hands, he's got an opportunity to make to bring it to the house. And when you got a guy like that, it brings people up onto their feet and excited every time he's out on the field.
So here we go. We're traveling across the country, right? We're taking on the Alouettes. Now, I have made a bet with the Alouettes Flight Deck podcast, or the Alouettes podcast, that if the BC Lions win, they have to put the BC Lions logo on their Twitter page, and if we win, or the other way, whatever, I have to put Alouettes logo on, because right now I have my face with the BC Lions. How do we feel about my wager and the Lions taking on the Alouettes?
Well, you know what? This is going to be a heck of a test. And the reason I say that is that, first, anytime that you go on the road, it's difficult. Anytime you travel from the west to the east, it's difficult. But I look at both these teams and the kinds of teams that they have. They're good. They're good defensively. They get after the quarterback. They have good quarterback play. I'd say the Lions probably have a little bit more consistency at the quarterback position. Vernon Adams is still, when he's on, spectacular. Yeah. But when he struggles, he can really struggle. So, but as far as like the test that quarterback, the Lions defense is going to get, it doesn't get any harder than this. Like Vernon, if he starts moving around with his feet and running, he can hurt you a number of different ways. Hurt you with your feet, hurt you with his ability to create time and space, and then he can throw the football from the pocket. They can run the football with Steinbach, and that is another thing that the Lions have to worry about. So there's a lot of weapons there that can hurt you. And defensively, Armando Sewell, who moved over from Edmonton to Montreal in the middle of that defense. I have been a very, very big fan of Armando's from day one. I think he is probably one of the most disruptive defenders that's out there. He can change the game because of his ability to get into the quarterback's face and, force the quarterback into changing where they throw the ball from. And he, with his presence in defense as well, is that you have to double team him, and in some cases triple team him, which puts the other guys on an island. So they now are one-on-one, and so you've got to really hope that those guys can step up and do their jobs. So this is going to be a heck of a test for them. I'm really looking forward to this game because I think it has the potential to be a really, really exciting game, given both offenses and what they're capable of. So, I'm really looking forward to it. Montreal is a great road trip anyways for me personally, outside of the 5-hour plane ride that it takes. I love going to the city. It's a fantastic city, and it's a great venue to watch a football game from. And I'm super excited about this week's matchup.
Well, you're kind of scaring me now. I might have to go call Tim and Cliffy and take back my wager. No, okay. No, it's good. I just brief thought. I don't want to keep you all day. I so appreciate your time. Some thoughts,
No, it's okay.
On some of the other games here, right? So obviously we have the Winnipeg, steamrolling everything. It just came out right before you came on. Trevor Harris has been placed on a 6-game injured reserve list. I assume that means Taylor Cornelius of XFL fame, right? With the Vipers will be starting. Thoughts about that? I think the Elks were probably the underdogs anyway in that. And now, especially with the Trevor Harris news, any updated thoughts on the Blue Bombers and Elks?
Well, I would say that if you lose Trevor Harris, that's going to be a big hit to you. I mean, he's got experience. He's got he's got that experience as an elite quarterback in this league. Like he's been to the big game. He's won the big game. So, I'm a big Trevor Harris. I don't say big fan, but I like the way he goes about and does his business. But anytime you lose your starting quarterback in this league, it's going to hurt you. And when you're playing arguably the best team in the Canadian Football League in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, I would imagine that the money on the Blue Bombers is going to skyrocket with this game. They're very, very good all the way around. They're well coached. they get after the quarterback, and I would imagine that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are gonna be all that Edmonton can handle.
We have the Stampeders going on, right? Dane Evans, all these teams, right? I mean, thank God we got to protect Michael Riley. I mean, this is like he's the last prize possession.
Hey, yeah, but I will say this though, Reed. Nathan Rourke's the real deal. Yeah. Nathan Rourke's the real deal. Like I know that he's young, and the expectation, I'd like to temper my expectation, but everything that I've seen of that kid in practice, I think the Lions feel very, very comfortable with him running the show. So, but as you're right, I'm knocking on wood or knock on wood that Mike Riley stays healthy.
Yeah. Dane Evans going down. They announced, right, David Watford is going to be, helming for the Tiger Cats. I think that was going to be an uphill battle anyway with injuries and things. What do we think about the Stamps and the Tiger Cats on?
Well, again, the Stamps are a different team with Bo Levi in there, obviously, from a confidence standpoint, but Mayer really he impressed me, right? He was good. For a kid that's a rookie to do what he did, especially after the start that he had. I think he had 2 or 3 interceptions in that one half, and then really settled himself down after that. But again, like the Calgarys, they're just so well coached and so well prepared, right? That they're going to show up and they're going to play good, disciplined football, and they're going to be in the game unless something really tragic happens. And again, if David Watford is going to be the starter, he's a guy like last week was on the bench, right? And there's a reason why, and I don't mean that with any disrespect, but he's the third quarterback, right? And so now all of a sudden you're being pushed into that starting role. And, I always say this, that there is no substitute for game speed. And that reality of when you get into a game, things move a lot faster than what you're used to. So I would imagine that Calgary is really going to test him with that. They're going to go after him, force him into making reads, getting rid of the football. And that is going to be the difference in the game. So David's going to have his hands full, right? And that's the one thing about, professional football is that when you get to this point and you get your opportunity, they're going to test you defensively. They're going to put pressure on you. They're going to make sure that you are able to make the right read at the right time and get rid of the football. So they're not going to make things easy for him. And, Dave, having been a former quarterback, I think he knows the things that you have to do in order to disrupt the quarterback like that. So, and I'm sure that Hamilton is going to try to use David Watford. I know that he can run a little bit and move around. So I think they'll probably try to use that to their advantage. But I know that Orlando Steinhauer and the Hamilton Tiger Cats are probably getting very frustrated at their luck, right? They just can't seem to, they lose guys, injuries, and especially at the quarterback position, it's really hurt them.
Yeah, that was the thing is Mazzoli went down. Evans looked like this revitalization of everything, and it just seemed like they were cruising. And now, it's hard. It's challenging enough to go to QB2, to go to QB3. It's like, okay,
it's hard, right? It's hard. And the thing is, too, is like I know, like with a limited roster and the way that the practices are now, like when I'm out at the Lions practice, Nathan Rourke is taking all the reps because they only dress 2 quarterbacks. So you really can't prepare a third quarterback, right? It's especially with the limited time. So it really, really puts a strain on your team when you have to get to that point. And it also, I think this is worth noting because I think it's very prevalent in this league is that, and I think you could use Javon Cottoy as an example, that, a lot of times guys, when they get to this level, they're so used to being starters and so used to playing at whatever level that they came from that when they get put on a practice roster or they don't play, that they kind of like, they're disappointed and all that kind of stuff. But that's really when the real work begins because, this season, well, now this is a shortened season at 14 games, but normally the 18 regular season games, you don't know when you're going to get your opportunity, right? You might get it in week 1, you might get it in week 10, or you might get it in week 16 when your team really needs you. You better be prepared, right? You better be ready to go. And I think Javon Cottoy for the Lions is a great example of a young kid who has been around, but, has played limited. But then when he gets the opportunity to step in, man, he's right there. He knows every position, and he steps right in and has the quarterback's trust because he knows his job. And the same for a quarterback, right? Like, I know how easy it is because I've been in that position that when you're the third quarterback, you got to prepare like you're the starter. And it can be hard because 99.9% of the time you're not going to play. But it's so important to be prepared. And you really, really see that from some of these young quarterbacks when they get these opportunities, how prepared they are. So it'll be interesting to see what David Watford brings to the table.
Yeah, it's just hard. We have a lot of friends of the show, a lot of kickers, right? A lot of special teams guys, and how they have to keep themselves in shape all year and mentally and be ready to go. I mean, I just couldn't imagine having to stay in physical shape and then also mentally. These quarterbacks like Dave Watford, it was the next thing you know, you're in the game, right? I mean, it's Friday night spotlight. Like we're going. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And again, like, hey, you can go out and line up and go to a field and throw all you want and kick all you want or do all those things. And that's great. You have to do that because those are really sometimes your only options. But, when you get into a game, when you feel that pressure and anxiety for the first time or you haven't felt that in a while, it can be the thing that really tips the scales, right? That you're not used to the pressure and the anxiety that come with being in a game. And as I said, your team really, really needs you to be able to step up and do your job. And so for a lot of these guys, they don't get many of these opportunities, right? If you go in there and really don't know what you're doing and don't know where to go with the football because we've been practicing this or we've been talking about this and we get into a game and you don't do it, you mean that your career can be over pretty quick.
Any thoughts about Roughriders Argos before we let you go? I mean, Roughriders it really kind of have been really struggled the last couple of weeks.
Well, and just so I haven't heard yet, Reed, but what's the status on Cody Fajardo?
I think we're assuming that he's playing. It sounds going to play to me. I'm building the show right now. We're going to record tonight. I mean, this will all air tomorrow, but as we record this, the presumption is he's going to play.
Yeah. Well, if he plays, obviously that's a big difference. So, I like Toronto. I really do. I like what they're doing. Obviously, with the whole, with the defensive coordinator Chris Jones now coming on board, there's a lot of questions there. But anyways, Chris has proven over the years that he can just flat out coach. So and it might not be this week or next couple of weeks until you really get a flavor. But Rich Stubler, I think, is going to fill in as the defensive coordinator there. And there, Rich is another guy who's had a lot of success in this league and is going to do very, very well. Offensively, I think too, with the Argos, it's all about the quarterback, right? If they can get the consistency at the quarterback position, then that they're going to have a chance. But rolling those two guys the way that they need a certain level of consistency at that position in order to get it done.
Yeah, we just had Mike Hogan on, and I brought up the Chris Jones thing, and he said very clear he's not part of the team yet. I mean, it was towing the line. I said, well, I wasn't trying to get any breaking news. I just was trying to talk about obviously things are in the works. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously some changes going there and personnel things and whatever. So
yeah, and I mean, Toronto, I know everybody was really, really, really high on them, and as they should. I think defensively they're very good, and offensively they have some weapons and they can hurt you. But it's the quarterback, right? That you just don't know what you're going to get out of. Some days it's good, some days it's bad, and we'll see. But Saskatchewan too is another team that's been playing very, very consistent football, and they've really benefited because have they played one road game yet to this point? Have all their games been at home?
They played the Roughriders had the Banjo Bowl was the only. I think that was their first away game. Yeah,
was their first away game. Yeah. So you mean that's a big advantage. Yeah. So now they're going to get tested by going on the road here for the next little while.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm excited. I think it will be a good game of week of their games. I so appreciate your time coming on. Like I said, I'm excited to get more of the the BC Lions flair on the podcast. You know, we're doing that. We had friend of the show, Jim Mullen, was hanging out with Amar Doman at the game last weekend. I said, could you please let Mr. Doman know what a Markcast is? And then we'll get that going. But I really appreciate your time, and we'll be up. We are seeing the game on the 16th, so we'll be there when the Stamps come into town. So very excited to make the trip up.
Well, Reed, listen, I really appreciate what you do for the game. I know you love the game and you promote the game, and that's fantastic. So anytime you need me, just let me know. I'd love to come back on and talk football. I love to do it.
Bird, we have the voice of CFL, our America CFL team, Julia, on the podcast. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too, bud. Cheers. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Want to thank all of our guests. Reed took all the time to talk to so many people. Great interviews from all three. I was going to say both, but there was three. Milt Stegall, Mike Hogan, and Guilio Caravatta.
Yeah, tremendous. Julio is truly I really delighted him. Mike Hogan is great too. Yeah, thank you, Jim Mullen. This is a quick story. So last weekend when the BC Lions killed 45-13, Jim Mullen tweeted, and he was with Amar Doman, the owner of the BC Lions. Jim was in the suite with Amar, hanging out at the game, watching the game. So I tweeted at Jim, messaged him, and publicly I go, could you please make sure Amar knows what a Markcast is? Can we please do that? And so he tweeted me back. He goes, I'm working on stuff, whatever. I go, okay, well, I have a big show this week. I don't even need your help. And I forgot that Jim was actually the one that gave me Mike Hogan's number to talk to. So, but we got him anyway. We got everything. So
very good. A little bit of XFL news now. Jonathan Coachman says the XFL owes him money and he doesn't want to work for WWE or Vince McMahon again. Coachman says when he returned to WWE, he made it very clear he was there to try to help them grow the things he saw and the way they're treating people. Ultimately, a year ago, when they asked me to come back into the XFL, we need someone from the WWE on that side to give Vince what he wants. And he flew coast to coast because he lives in California. They didn't have this expenses set up. It seems like he's paid his own expenses. That's what he's saying. And because he had the 20-year relationship there, and he felt like he'd be taken care of because the relationship. And it seems like they took advantage of that.
Yeah, well, it's like, spoiler alert, Coach. A lot of people didn't get paid when they went bankrupt. Like, that is how bankruptcy works. Or you're never made whole. You're made partially whole, right? I mean, Coachman's no different than Cole Boozer or someone that maybe was owed money when they went bankrupt. But I mean, obviously, Coachman's checks were probably significantly bigger than a lot of the XFL players. Well,
to this point, Andrew Yang tweeted out today that he had a call with the U.S. Department of Labor, and he says, if you are a current or former WWE performer who feels you are misclassified as an independent contractor, let's get you what Vince owes you. He says it's been a long time coming, but the storyline was real. Of course, Andrew Yang had campaigned on this, had made a big deal out of this because he's a big wrestling fan. And, his response after his first tweet in his thread was, all you have to do is believe. So, Coachman, holler at Andrew Yang. Become part of the Yang Gang. Get your money. 877 cash now.
Andrew Yang is not. Is he a lawyer?
I don't know. What does Andrew Yang do? I know he ran for mayor, failed. He's an entrepreneur.
Oh, that guy. Okay. I will say this. So, Coach talked about all this. Jonathan Coachman, the coach, talked all about this on his podcast. Ask Coach Anything Live. You can't AMA. I mean, doesn't Reddit own the trademark to AMA? You can't own my podcast. Ask Coach Anything Live.
I think they tried to, but I think the courts threw that out. They're you can't trademark something like that.
Anyway, Coach is mad. He goes, I'm not okay. I will never work with someone like that again. I mean, here's the deal. Coach did the weekend preview shows on Sundays on YouTube. I watched them because I was a mark, but it wasn't like it was a big
hallmark.
I think we will be okay with Coach not returning to XFL 3.0 or 5.0 or whatever we call this whenever this comes about. I think we'll be okay.
I'll make that happen. Unless it's The Rock making fun of him constantly.
Yeah, that's fine.
That would be good. Per Tom Pelissaro, the Cowboys are expected to re-sign kicker Liam Harjuluru to the practice squad. I don't know if I'm probably butchering that name too. I guess Greg Zerline had some strugglers in their opener, and Liam might be the guy they call on later on to to step in.
Yeah, Liram he's Canadian. He's from the CFL. He played in the Spring League. He topped a friend of the show, Matt Mango, for the longest field goal kick. I believe all this is correct. He owns the record now for the longest field goal kick in the Spring League. Took it from Matt Mango, friend of the show, my Markcast jacket thing. But Greg had like off-season back surgery, and then remember he missed all the field goal kicks during the home opener last week against the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
That was why, because of all this. And now they're like, oh, we're calling this Emmer effort right now. Like we're not, Mike McCarthy is not messing around. Like, let's get this guy on the horn.
And normally it's so limited on how many people you have on your roster that if they signed a kicker to be on the practice squad, you got 1 week, Zerline. You got 1 week to figure it out. And if you don't, you're done.
Yeah. Any other Heinicke stuff? I didn't want to kill it at the beginning, but I mean, truly tremendous performance tonight.
Great performance for Heinicke. Like, I can't, like when he threw that interception with like 3 minutes left in the game, I'm like, oh, this is over. Heinicke just gave him the game. And then I was like, and then when I saw it was like 2 minutes left, I'm thinking, oh, maybe there's a little bit of time there for Heinicke to work. And sure enough, he made things happen. I mean, granted, it was kind of a situation where the Giants gave him the game. I mean, they missed the field goal. The Giants player was offsides, got 5 more yards, had a second shot, almost missed it again, but
yeah,
put it through uprights. But I mean, Taylor Heinicke's, doing great stuff. I was kind of throwing it out there on Twitter. I was like, oh, Cam Newton. But now I think they're going to let it go for another couple. I think they're probably going to let this go for another couple of weeks, see what Heinicke does. And I don't think he's going to. Definitely let people down. I think he's a solid quarterback. And I sent you this too, by the way. The Panthers. Did you see this stupid thing?
Yeah, the Panthers thing was insane. A friend of yours and mine immediately tweeted like, CFL people need to figure out how to do this right away. I'm sure you can imagine who tweeted that out. I'm sure
that's the dumbest thing for a team that's going to go 5-12. Why do they do that?
Yeah.
Why do they spend the money on that thing? It's stupid.
Yeah, Panthers had a thing came out like a panther like ran through this, but it was like real life, but it was augmented, but it was on the scoreboard. It was very odd.
It's like the stupid crap that WWE does during WrestleMania, where they like put the stupid graphics on. That is so dumb, and they think that makes production values better. I think that crap looks stupid when WWE does it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah. Last things. Oh, just one more thing about Cam Newton, then we'll talk giveaway, and then we're out of here. You cannot convince me that Cam Newton would have done a better job tonight.
Oh, he would have folded.
Given what I saw him play last year, you cannot convince me that he would have done a better job than Heinicke. I mean, the same whatever, but you cannot tell me he would have done a better job.
He would have folded. He's a little crybaby. He would have folded. Heinicke's a quarterback and Cam Newton's an athlete. That's the difference.
I like that. So I'm words. So here's the deal. So we're doing the giveaway. We'll plug it again in the promo because I kind of forgot we were going to do this. And then thankfully I remembered. So here's the deal. So Paul has his Argos jersey.
Yeah, I do. I have a spare one. I have a small and a medium. We'll give away one of those. Okay. One of those two. So and then we have 2 XL Spring League Jouster shirts. So they're over there. I have them. Everything's up. So this is what you're going to do. So if you want to be entered in the giveaway for the 1,500 giveaway, you need to comment on the YouTube video and say what you want. So you can say, I want the Argos jersey. It's either small or medium. And then we have 2 XL Jouster shirts. So you can say Argos thing, Jousters thing. Oh, I also have an old Markcast sweatshirt. It's like a medium. So that's also in there. So there's 4 items. Comment on the YouTube video. If you want an additional chance to win, if you're on Twitter, if you retweet the episode when I post it, when you hear it, I will enter you in for another one. And then if you want another chance, you can leave us a review if you haven't already at themarkcast.com/review. So if you really want something, it's all free. None of this costs you anything to like type in YouTube, leave a review. But I figured that would be a good way. So 3 different ways. Leave a comment. You have to tell us what you want because you will only be in the running for what you could want all 3. But if you only want like, well, I'm an XL, I don't want the small jersey or whatever. And then you can retweet the episode or you can leave us a review at themarkcast.com/review. Perfect.
That was a lot, right? I thought about that.
Did you think about that on the fly? Because that was pretty good. Like if you just came off that, or did you plan that out?
I thought about it last night.
Okay, well, that was definitely a way to go. 3 different chances to get your name in to win either an Argos jersey, medium or small, or one of the 2 Jouster shirts that really broke Brian Wood's bank.
Or the Markcast sweatshirt. It's a really nice. It's a brand new. It's like never been. It's a Markcast hoodie with the Markcast. Nothing's wrong with it. It's too small for me.
Very cool. All right, there you go. do the giveaway things. Just, plug us, help share, get the word out, write a review, share the episode, and leave a comment what you want. That's 3 easy ways to help boost us and maybe get yourself a prize. So with that being said, I want to thank all our guests again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.